I was in a conversation the other day thinking about the idea of fear, just witnessing the quality of that frequency. And I noticed that there were two distinguished ways of relating with that. One way was the physical thing, the fear that I feel when someone is going bad in front of me, fight or flight kind of vibe. And then the fear comes and kick adrenaline in, and I have to just like move, do something. That's one quality of fear. But at the same time, there is a fear that is a psychological fear. And like two examples of this. Like one example, you have like a wild animal in front of you coming towards you. Like that's fear of, I wanna die, leave me away, keep me safe. So the fear kicks in, so your body can just go into like super mode and you just run away or you do something. But I noticed that with the psychological fear, an example would be like this. So you're afraid of something, but you don't even know about why you're afraid of that thing. So that program was installed somewhere in the past. Someone decided to install that program. Either it was the society or like someone had an agenda and wants to create safety and use that spell to establish fear, so you would behave. A situation that can be seen as this practice if you have a child, for example, playing with a stove, and you know that they will burn their hands. If they put their hands there or put their hands on the fire, for example, that is not really healthy. That can burn, that can hurt. One thing is to come and express that with clarity and no hooks, like, hey, this actually hurts. If you put your hand there, like I've been there before from my personal experience, and it does hurt. I'm just like stating the reality. This is what happened. If you put your hand there, it will hurt. Like it's physical. I'm letting you know. No attachments, but please, let's be careful. The other thing that can come in the same situation, you use a situation on your past or like visualization or a story. Like, do you know that cousin that you have? That one time your cousin put your hand on it and that thing explode. Like, oh my God, like I'm creating the psychological fear because none of this, neither the kid or the parent or the person that is taking care of the kid at that moment had that experience. Both were relating with a story, and the story is scary for them. So because of that story that helped that one person to stay away from that, they use the same spell. I'm infusing fear so you will behave. I'm creating psychological fear for you to create my illusion of safety. I know that you will behave because someone used that with me and I behaved in the past. So that psychological fear is a mechanism of control. And this psychological fear most of the time is used to secure the illusion of safety. I want that to be safe, so I will create a story around it, so you will be afraid and you will have fear. And interesting enough is that there are studies that relate the psychological fear with the physical fear in the way that they activate our brain and the way that they create the hormones for us to go through that idea or through that sensation. And they activate exactly the same areas of the brain. So if I'm thinking about being afraid, or if I am afraid, physically is the same thing. So the psychological fear will create the same feeling of fight or flight that a physical fear, a real thing in front of me will create. So it is a very powerful spell. And the awareness of when to connect with this, it comes with the understanding that, okay, why I'm cultivating this story. And there is one other thing that came when I was thinking about the fear, which is like the fear and the hook that comes from the validation. Like, not just Because on that situation, the story around the fire, it's not just because I'm afraid of the story, but I'm afraid of not being validated or not being loved by you. And if you're telling me that this is something wrong, I'm gonna respect, because I'm afraid of not being something. I have a role that I'm playing in this dynamic with you, and I want to be that. And in your voice, I can feel that if I'm not behaving as you want me to behave, I can sense your fear. And that is threatening my role in this dynamic. So the need for validation will also keep that fear alive, the fear of not being enough. And it's interesting to observe when there is a need for validation. And I could track that, and I've been tracking this in the language, in the body language, the communication, and things and dynamics around. But there is a moment, there's an interesting moment, when you offer someone a compliment, or like just like saying like you're so beautiful, or even going to something like I love you, like the most pure frequency that we can connect, from my understanding, that is the frequency of love. When you encapsulate that into the word love and bring this into a social dynamic, and you say I love you, would like to bring you into the situation where you say that, and there is a silence after that. That silence can trigger something which comes from that fear of not being received, not being validated. So that love is really a giving, or that I love you is a taking? The taking of the validation that will come from someone saying I love you too. You know, that bonding that comes from that. I'm not saying that saying I love you is something wrong at all. Like, I think it's one of the most beautiful things to say to someone else. But to have this reflection about what does that mean for you in your social dynamic, in the meaning that this word have for you. Because it's completely different than the word meaning that it has for me, because of my social dynamics and how I was raised. The way that I relate with this nowadays is I respect you, I admire you, I care for you, I appreciate your presence. Like, this is what I'm trying to translate through this spell, I love you. Because when I think about the essence behind it, and maybe where this came from, like, I am in the frequency of love. In this frequency of love, everything is love. And I look to you and your love as well. It's like, yeah, this is so good. But I have attachment for that. And I want this to be here forever. So I objectify this. And I narrow this whole thing on you. And I say, I love you. And in saying that, I'm expecting that this will come back, that feeling, when you're around. Because I'm projecting that is in me. I am in the frequency of love. So everything around is love as well, you know. But because I'm afraid, I have fear that this is not gonna last, I use that spell to secure, to create stability, to provision, to forecast, to create like something that I can predict that will be there forever. Not saying that we all used in this way, but just bringing this reflection for us to connect with the fear that is somewhere there, you know, that comes from the validation that came from someone telling you a story about the fire, that you could not put your hand on the fire or you would be burned like someone else. And from that story, there is the fear. Not just from burning your hand, but for being something that that person will not appreciate. Yeah.